Wonderhussy here, standing at the side of Interstate 40 in the great state of Texas, about to check out a place I've been dying to visit for a long time. What's so exciting about this particular part of Interstate 40, you might ask? Well, I'll give you a couple clues. First, you can see all these K barriers behind me are covered in colorful graffiti. You can see that everyone from Armando to Enrique and Lorenzo have been here. Okay, you want another clue? Over here on this side of the road, well, you can see there's a big dirt field littered with empty cans of spray paint. And inexplicably, it's a bunch of shoes stuck on the top of this fence. Okay, well, if you haven't figured it out yet, that's right, I'm at the world famous Cadillac Ranch. Oh, you don't know what that is? Well, basically, it's a bunch of old Cadillacs planted in the ground, face first, out in the High Plains Desert, just west of Amarillo. Matter of fact, you can see them in the distance there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. That's right, Armando and Enrique and Lorenzo and everybody else who signed this K-rail here all came out to the middle of this God-forsaken plain just to look at these Cadillacs. You might be wondering, well, what's the big deal? Well, I guess it started out as an art project. One of them fancy artists collaboratives called the Ant Farm, I think. A bunch of guys back in 1974 came up with the idea of planting these Cadillacs in the ground, and so they did. It's actually an interesting story, though. You know, you'd think it was like some artsy Texans. I don't know where all the guys were from, but they came up with the idea while they were living in California. Okay, they were supposedly living in the mountains north of San Francisco, and I couldn't find out online where exactly in the mountains north of San Francisco they were hanging out. But I guess they got the wild idea one night while they were looking at a kid's book about old cars. Now remember, this was back in 1974, so 74, cars were still cars. I mean, if these guys could have seen cars today, blah. But even in 1974, I guess they were bemoaning the way cars had devolved. You know, back in the 50s, they had those boss fins on the back, you know, the tail fins that Cadillacs had. So they started thinking about it, and they decided to create this art project where they planted, I think, Cadillacs of different years, manufacturing years, in the ground somewhere. And so apparently someone gave them a list of millionaire philanthropists, I guess, or millionaires that were known to, you know, be free with their money and would give some money to some wacky artists. And so they found this guy, Stanley Marsh III, who owned some land outside Amarillo, and he agreed to finance the project. I guess he paid for them to track down all these different Cadillacs, and he paid for the land for them to be planted in. And well, the rest is history. I mean, this is a super famous landmark. It's been in a bunch of movies, music videos, commercials. Everybody who's traveling on I-40, well, except for the truckers who are just trying to do their job, seems like everybody else and their Aunt Sally stops here to check them out. And so, who am I to think I'm any better than everyone else? Okay, so I parked at the side of the road back there, and apologies, it's real windy out here today, so hopefully the audio is okay. But I'm just walking down the shoulder here. Oh, it looks like some enterprising soul has a Cadillac Ranch themed food truck or souvenir wagon, or maybe he sells spray paint. Because that's actually the cool thing about this Cadillac Ranch is they not only allow, but they encourage you to spray paint your name on them. And so I guess over the years, layer upon layer upon layer of paint has built up on these things and on all the fencing surrounding it. Oh, wow, look at this. There's like a little gate and then a short walk through this field out past the souvenir truck or the spray paint truck. I guess it sells spray paint and merchandise. Exit through the gift shop. Well, good for him. I mean, I don't know if this guy, Stanley Marsh's family, still owns this land, if that has anything to do with him. But whoever it is, Good for them for following in the footsteps of all the great American hucksters and money makers, and well, for just keeping the spirit of America alive. Me, I'm cheap, and I brought my own can all the way from Death Valley, something like 800 miles that way. Well, I have a lot of extra spray paint laying around the house anyway, and I figured, why spend money on a new can when I can just use some leftovers from a previous project? Okay, we're coming up on the Cadillacs. This actually reminds me a lot of 7 Magic Mountains outside Las Vegas. If you've ever been to Vegas, the desert just south of town has those crazy tall stacks of colorful rocks. And there's always a bunch of cars parked there and tourists taking pictures and Instagrammers Instagramming. And well, it's very similar to this, but this was here way before 7 Magic Mountains. And old Cadillacs are way cooler than a bunch of stacked rocks anyway. Okay, yeah, 10 Cadillacs buried face first in the ground. I don't know much about cars, but car guys that are watching, you might be able to tell under all those layers of paint what year each one of these is. Oh man, the air here smells very strongly of spray paint. Probably because there's just layer upon layer built up. Look at this. Oh my god, it's like lumpy. Oh my gosh. I wish you guys could feel this. It feels amazing. Okay, I'm gonna go on this side so the light's better, and I'll give you a look at these different chassis. I mean, you can see this one does have, or used to have, a tail fin at the top. It looks like somebody actually broke it off. I wouldn't be surprised. So I don't know. That looks pretty old, right? And my understanding was that each one of these represented a different year of manufacture. So let's walk down the line and see if that's true. Like this one here is a little bit more rounded. I don't know, this one looks pretty much the same. Oh look, this one has a real pointy tail fin on it. Look at this kid. Everybody's doing their creative part. Ooh, this one's got real pointy tail fins. And this one, ooh, that looks like the oldest one out of all to me. And then here's the last one, bringing up the rear. Also with a nice pointy set of tail fins that nobody has broken off. So overall, it's a pretty cool art piece, I think. The only downside is, you know, there's like clouds of spray paint wafting into the air. And look at the ground, it's just littered with lids of different colored cans of spray paint. I mean, this field looks like it's freshly plowed, like they're growing a crop of Krylon. Krylon! I heard it's going for $100 a bushel. I'm guessing that someone, maybe one of the heirs of Stanley Marsh, comes out here periodically and sort of picks up the trash, because if this has been going on for 50 years, you think there'd be way more bits and bobs of plastic and old spray paint cans. And I mean, all things considered, I guess it's not that bad. Actually, speaking of Stanley Marsh, the eccentric millionaire who funded this thing, well, I guess he was accused or maybe even convicted of some kind of sexual abuse of minors, I think in 2010. I don't know any of the details of it. I read online, but I wasn't able to find the details of the case. Some kind of improper sexual conduct with teenagers. And so I guess some people want to disavow anything he had anything to do with, but he just funded this project. It was really the concept of these ant farm art collectivists. So I still feel okay coming here and checking this out. Okay, so now I guess the question is, where am I going to spray paint my name? And does it even matter? I mean, no matter where I paint it, somebody's going to come along 5 minutes later and paint something over it. And so in a way, it's kind of Zen. You know, Buddhism is all about there is no self, you know, killing your ego. Well, there's no better way to kill your ego than to write your name on a Cadillac in the middle of the West Texas desert and then have some idiot come along 5 minutes later and obliterate it. Actually, I don't know if this is West Texas. I think this is considered the Panhandle. But you know what I mean. So yeah, I guess I shouldn't spend too much time trying to pick a spot to put my name, because it doesn't matter. Oh man, look at this. It's almost like drippings in it. Like, what do you call that in a cave? Stalactites? I can never remember which one comes down, stalactites or stalagmites, but just look at that. It's like long drippings, almost like teats. Okay, I mean, if we want to continue with the farming metaphor of growing a crop of Krylon, what if What if this is how spray paint is produced? It's milked out of these little teats built up over the years at Cadillac Ranch. The good folks at the Krylon Spray Paint Company come out here and they milk it into cans and then ship those cans worldwide to all the Home Depots and Michael's craft stores and Hobby Lobbies so that we can all buy it to use to spray paint our cars, our front doors, our windows. It's just a theory. And it's really interesting to see how many different types of folks come out here. And there's that cute little family down there, dad in his big cowboy hat. Then there's some like artsy fartsy photographer with a tripod taking real photos. Oh, look at that. There's trash cans lined up down there. So you would think all these spray paint cans and can lids could have just ended up in the trash cans. But then again, it's real windy out here. Maybe they blew out. Anyway, this is right off I-40, and I-40 is one of the main roadways crossing America. So it stands to reason that there'd be people here from all over the USA. But I'll bet you none of them are from Death Valley, except me. Okay, I'm kind of curious to go inside one of these cars. What do you guys think? Should we go in? I mean, everything's been stripped out, but you can actually climb inside. I guess this would have been the front seat. Squeeze in here. Woo-wee. Man, I'm gonna get high just being in here breathing in all these fumes. Okay, it's cramped quarters, but I'm sitting in this Cadillac. I'm not really sure where I'm going. I guess I should be sitting this way if I was facing front. But if I was facing front, I'd be in for a world of hurt because we're about to crash. Oh, wow, this is so interesting. It almost seems like there's, I wonder why there's expanding foam in here. I guess they filled up the crack between the roof and the frame with expanding foam. I'm not sure why they would have done that. There must be some like restoration people that come out here and take care of this place. I mean, I did read that I think in 2019 there was a fire out here. One of these Cadillacs partially burned up. I feel like it might be that one right there because you can see the bottom of it's kind of looks like it might have been burned. You tell me why somebody would want to come out here and set one of these things on fire. But I bet it was pretty dang flammable with all those layers and layers of paint. All the teats probably went straight up. Oh, look at these adorable young cowboys painting their names. I love it. Super cute. Anyway, I guess I'll just go write my name on the one at the end because why not? Does it make any difference at all? Well, yeah, actually it does in a way because the stuff gets built up into these super thick layers like I was showing you earlier. And apparently there's a place in Amarillo right down the road where they make jewelry out of chips of it. You know, I guess they like gouge out chunks of it and then polish it, and because there's so many different layers of paint in different colors, it makes for this really cool swirled effect. I think they call it Cadillac. Maybe that's how I'll know when I finally find my true love. He'll offer me a ring made of Cadillac. Okay, anyway, let me get my paint out and write my name, I guess, when in Rome. Hopefully this paint works. I've had it for quite some time. I think it was from my vintage travel trailer when my friend Randy redid my vintage travel trailer. I feel like he used this color for part of it inside. And that was back in 2016, so like 8 years ago. Oh yeah, it's working. It's just so dang windy today that it's getting blown away. Okay, here's a little white patch. I'm just gonna try to write my name real small there. Oh man, it wasn't enough room. Okay, it didn't show up that well, but I actually like the fact that I at least used turquoise because that's gonna look real pretty in somebody's Cadillac wedding ring. Okay, it's pointless. No one's gonna be able to see my name in this jumble anyway, so I'm just gonna put my paint away and save it for something else. You know, I don't wanna waste spray paint. That stuff is probably super toxic to make, and then these empty cans just end up littering this field anyway. Just in a way feels kind of gross. But I'm not trying to be negative about this installation. I think this is really cool and it's really fun, and I like the fact that it's interactive and it's bringing out the inner artist in everyone. So I don't know when the tradition of painting these Cadillacs started. Like I said, the installation was first put out here in '74, and actually this isn't the original location. It was originally closer to town. I guess Amarillo is still a number of miles that way. So originally this was right outside town, but then it grew to become such a tourist attraction and a public nuisance, I guess, causing traffic and whatnot and litter, that they ended up moving it way out here to some more land that Stanley Marsh III also owned. I want to say that was back in 1997 that they were moved out here. So it's kind of interesting to think that for the last 50 years, all through the 70s, all through the 80s, all through the 90s, all through the 2000s and 2010s, people have been coming out here spraying these dang cars. I mean, it's no wonder the paint's so thick, 50 years worth of layers will do that. And incidentally, the paint jobs aren't all done by random members of the public. I guess every now and then for like a special occasion, they'll repaint these. Like, I guess Stanley Marsh's wife, for her birthday one year, he painted them all pink for her. Isn't that a romantic gesture? And then I guess another time they painted them all white for some commercial. And then they painted them all black when one of the founding artists from the ant farm died. And then again, I think they painted them all black during the George Floyd Black Lives Matter protests. But apparently it didn't take long at all for them to get nice and colorful again. Gosh, I wonder who the first person was who came out here after the George Floyd thing and started painting them again. Seems like somebody would yell at you for doing that. But then again, I don't know. Folks do all kinds of crazy stuff here. Anyway, another thing that I thought was kind of cool that I read is that the chain of hotels, the Hampton Inn chain, I guess they did they had a campaign a while back where they were restoring iconic Route 66 roadside attractions, which this is, I guess, right off the side of old Route 66. I mean, I-40, Route 66, they mostly parallel the same route. Anyway, I guess the Hampton Inn hotels were going around beautifying and restoring all these old historic Route 66 landmarks. And they came out here, and apparently they repainted each one of these Cadillacs to its original factory state, which I can't imagine how you would do that. They, I guess, scraped all these layers of accumulated spray paint off and then started from scratch. And then that guy who makes the Cadillac jewelry came out here and took all that paint they'd peeled off and used it to make necklaces and earrings and rings. And oh my God, that guy's probably rich. In fact, he should have a trailer parked out here selling souvenirs. Anyway, that's pretty much all there is to the world famous, iconic Cadillac Ranch. Now, it looks like that one, the roof split off, or just a big chunk of paint from the roof split off. Weird. And what's really weird is there's a never-ending stream of people parking and making the trek across this field to come check these things out. How about that? Who says there's no sense of wonder in America anymore? I think these 10 Cadillacs beg to differ. But then I suppose wonder is in the eye of the beholder. You might look at this and go, oh, look how cool this is. Classic Americana, roadside attraction, everyone's having fun, being artsy. And then your friend might look at this field full of busted spray paint cans and go, oh, what an eyesore. Speaking of trash, let's see what's inside these trash cans. If anyone's actually using them, or are they just throwing their cans in the desert? Oh, I don't know, man. This one's full. I mean, look how much spray paint goes to waste here. Not to sound like a total environmentalist ninny, but golly. I mean, couldn't you use all this spray paint to build a well or something? Anyway, I guess I'm just gonna get back in my car and continue rolling along eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking. I'm going to watch the eclipse in Arkansas, and I'm getting mighty close to my destination. But I just had to stop and check out this iconic landmark because, well, spoiler alert, I do see the wonder in it.